And there we start tonight. I have Kieran Donaghy, the star, in studio. Kieran, once again, I have to say from the outset, you've been, I suppose, a massive contributor down through the years during Wishy's time on Terrace Talk. And actually, having retired and having announced your time, it's an absolute pleasure to have you here tonight.
Thanks a million, Tim. Thanks for having me. Yeah, always time for Terrace Talk. I suppose I've been coming in here a long time now, so it's, in your brand new studios for the first time, so everything looks great, so well done to you.
And it's fit for a star, if you don't mind. There'll be a lot of puns now tonight in this interview. Kieran, first of all, we'll go back to last week. Have you been thinking long about your retirement? I take it wasn't just a sudden rush of blood to the head and said, look, I'm going out now. You've talked about it for some time, haven't you?
I have, yeah, I suppose. Just some of them in my family would say that I'm talking about it a good while, but yeah, I suppose ever after, since 2014, even 13, when I was really struggling with injury that year, and into the winter that year, and then I couldn't play the league with Kerry, and Eamon and the management were looking at me kind of going, and I had this strange enough kind of groin injury, and it was hard to get right, and I was trying everything, but nothing was working. Jerkeen had me out of Castle Island. We were flat out at doing laps at 6 o'clock in the morning, but it just wasn't working. And, from, I suppose, that point on, I was kind of saying, look, I was lucky to get what I got out of it. And, if I can't play to my abilities and can't help Kerry, the time to go. And that was, that was through my head all through 2014, obviously, until the Mayo game. And, after that, my nan said, you should go now, retire on the top or whatever. And but of course, I went on to win the county championship with the Rock, so the chance to captain Kerry was never going to be turned down.
And was it a case of the journey and the amount of you obviously being a dual player, you're playing basketball and playing Gaelic football? Has it taken its toll on your body?
No, I've been very lucky. Tim, I'm 35. I'll be 36 when the basketball season is at the end next year, so I've been extremely lucky considering what I put my body through from a physical standpoint for as long as I have, and played away that I would have, which is, if you've ever seen me in a basketball court, I'd be throwing myself around the place after everything. So I've been very lucky. I've had a few bumps, few injuries here and there, but thankfully I've been very lucky to get through my career. And as I said, look, you break the collarbone, you break the bone in your foot, and you're out for 6 weeks, 8 weeks. But I suppose it was that one in 2014 that really worried me to say my career is going to be ended. Not that I was going to retire, but that I was going to be, unfortunately, made retire by my body. But I don't know, someone gave me helping hands there, all the physios that were working with me, people that helped me outside of the Kerry setup. Sean Boylan did a lot of work with me, and look, between everybody we eventually got it right, and I got an extra 4 or 5 years bonus territory out of it.
And on this occasion, when you did decide to retire, I take your family it was a huge factor as well. I know you adore your kids, and likewise your wife. You might mention their names here tonight at the outset.
Hillary's she's my rock, as the man says. She keeps the whole show on the road. Every chance I get, I'm at home with my girls. Love being around Lola Rose and Indy. Took her for her injections today before coming in here, Tim, so I was dealing with screaming and roaring for a few minutes after that, which is, Mum doesn't like that job. That's the only job that Dad has to come into his own and save the day, is them yearly injections. So love being around them. And look, they weren't any factor in it really, because I knew they would have had my back whatever I wanted to do, but at the same time, it was left very open to me by my family. So if I wanted to play on for Kerry and felt that I could contribute in a very positive light for them, they would support you. They would have supported me, yeah.
Kieran, tell me, when did it all start? I take it, first of all, you were a member of Austin Stacks GA Club. We'll speak about your basketball at different times when I go off on different tangents with you. But it all started, I suppose, in those early years with the famous Black and Amber.
Absolutely, I was a young fella down the field. I was actually a very skilled footballer when I was young, believe it or not. I was very good at dummy solos and all that when I was 3 or 4. My mother said as soon as I was walking, I was soloing the ball with a Kerry jersey on. So really loved the game at a young age, and we had Mikey Sheehy and guys like this around the club, and they'd come down and give you the medals at the end of the year, and it was a huge buzz. And I enjoyed my football all the way up. I suppose people like, Frank Courtney would have kept me in the game when really I was kind of struggling, and James Hubbard was another huge mentor when I was young. And Frank, I'd be very good friends with his son Martin, and Martin and myself were as thick as thieves as young fellas, and Martin was the very good footballer out of the two of us, and I was the basketballer that wasn't really doing much. And in fairness to the two of them, I suppose at a time where, you know, I wasn't really enjoying the football, I wasn't that good, I wasn't on the team, but they kept me going, and you know, they were a big part of, I suppose, the story, because, you know, if I'd have given up the game fully at that point for 3 or 4 years, it probably wouldn't have been an option to go back. But they kept with me as long as I could until the famous county final at under 16 level, where I was wide open in front of the goals and I was running around looking to hand pass it off to somebody, and my defender was injured on the floor behind me, and I got called for over Kerry and we lost the county final. So I suppose after that I kind of threw the ties out of the pram a small bit and just said, look, if I'm not that good, if I can't spot that I'm that free, or if I, you know, it was just something that disappointed me at my judgment levels, which I'd be always very proud of. So my decision making not to see that I was open, not to even look at the post, was just saying, look, I was on the Irish basketball team, I was loving that. So I kind of... Did
you question yourself at that time?
I did. I kind of stopped playing, really. I stopped playing for a year, but, you know, Frank was ringing the house, and Martin, I'd Brian Donaghy and another few young fellas from the Stacks, Mikey and the boys, who would have kind of kept me in the loop and come on down and keep coming down or whatever. But I suppose it was Frank really was the one that kind of drove it to get me back, and then I went in obviously with Aidan at around the same time coming back in with Frank. I was with Aidan O'Connor in the famous C team from
Tell me about that famous, because we've read about it in your book. We've also heard it in social media over the last week. Obviously we're going to mention, I suppose, the underdogs in a while as well. But they said about the Junior C and I suppose the late great Charlie Healy.
Yeah, Charlie's Angels we were known as. Charlie'd have the bottle of poachine, and he would be rubbing it on you before the game, and if the game was going bad at half time, it could be going down a different hatch. But he became an Aidan down in the first half, pulling Aidan off the line so he wouldn't be getting out to the ref, and then with a bit of poachine in the second half, it would change, roles would reverse, and it would be Aidan O'Connor that would be pulling Charlie Healy off the pitch. But they were brilliant, they made it fun. We trained them Monday and Wednesday nights. We had great players, Gareth Clifford, Tommy O'Connor, Wacker. We had, we'd unbelievable players all over that. We, loads of my friends. It was a brilliant time, really. I shouldn't have mentioned anybody because there's so many of them. It's unreal. But we had so much fun playing together. And it was out Friday night, then down to the Greyhound. Aidan had come over to me. I was kind of half working there at the time, so Aidan had give me the pen and the paper and get the lads a few drinks, and
You've played so much football at that particular time involved with the CD. And I met a man in the street today, and he asked me, can you remember a game against Lisbol? Apparently, one of your first senior games was against Lisbol, or maybe it's that Junior C competition, and I think it was behind in Lisbol, and he said it was a very tough place to go, and I bet you Star remembers it.
I do remember it.
There, Star?
Was the famous day. I actually put it in my book. Tommy O'Connor, or as Tommy Stones as we knew him, or as my nan liked to call him, Tommy Rocks. But Tommy got on a ball and he dislocated the shoulder. He got a big bang and he hit the ground and the shoulder popped out, and the physios were on, and can you move it? And Tommy was trying to lift it. No, I'm grand. And he got up and he got a ball about 2 minutes later, and we were all kind of going, oh my God, because his hand wasn't moving. One of his hands, he was just holding it. So he took off bouncing and soloing with the right leg. And some big fella from Lisbol came from him, and he just took the ball and kind of jumped at him at the same time, put your man back in the flat of his back and knocked it over the bar, and down he went, and he was gone off to hospital, and the game was over, and we came into the Greyhound. The crack was mighty, and we were waiting, where's Tommy? And Tommy came in from the hospital with a dislocated shoulder, and the place took off and it went on to another level, and we had a great night out after it. But they were unbelievable times, great memories. There was tough days too. Francie Breen, I was taken off in one game before half time, and I was very upset, and I was actually kind of crying behind the dugouts, and I was just like, oh my God, I was just back. My confidence was kind of coming, and next thing, bang, I had a nightmare of a game. Everything I touched went pear-shaped, and I kind of felt like, oh, what did I come back for? This is the same as the under-16 game. And Francie said, no, you're all right. No, look, it just didn't work for you today, but come back down Monday night. And I went back down Monday night and continued on to have the laugh with the boys.
And that seemed to be a line throughout your career. It's all about the next play, Kieran. Then things got serious. You started playing minor football, and you got onto a Kerry minor football panel.
Yeah, kind of happened out of the blue, really. I still slag Mikey Sheehy that I should have been on the panel from day one, but I was called in the Wednesday before the Dublin All-Ireland semi-final in Croke Park, and I was called in and I was said, look, you're called in, but don't just think you're a number now and you're down the end of the panel. You know, it's likely you could play because they're very strong in the middle of the field. So that was my call to arms. Was 12 or 14 minutes gone in the game. I think Charlie threw me in, and yeah, all of a sudden out of nowhere I'm running around with a Kerry jersey in my back in Croke Park, and that's where it kind of started.
I was just going to ask you that, Kieran. Is that where it all started, in the love or the want for Kerry jersey?
You know, the love and the want was always there. You're a kid, you know, you're from Kerry, you want to play for Kerry, that's the end of it. But I suppose the belief that maybe I mightn't be too bad at the game. You know, my major goal was never even seniors or Croke Park after the minor. My initial reaction was I have to be on the Kerry under 21 team in 2 years was the target I gave myself instead of 3 years, which would be my good year. And I achieved that, and we actually lost down in Walsh Park that day, and we lost my good year then. I stayed at home. I was offered a college scholarship in America and turned it down to play with the under-21s because I thought we were going to win the All-Ireland with Gooch and Declan Sullivan and Daniel Bohan and myself and Brian Sheehan and Ronan Flaherty. We had a very good team, but unfortunately got beaten. We were 4 points up against Cork in the Munster final above an Essex Park and lost by a point in the last minute. So that was heartbreaking for me, but I suppose again reset the goals and try and get on the senior squad was the aim from there.
Tonight I have the great man himself, Kieran Donaghy, affectionately known as the Star, who retired last week from inter-county football. And with great sadness, I suppose we all heard that news. And with that, tonight we're definitely generating comments out there. Of course, there's lovely prizes to give away as well, and they're all well wishes for the great man himself. Hi Tim, just to wish Kieran all the best in his retirement from the Kerry setup. It's been our pleasure to have seen Kieran grow into a legend. Looking forward to seeing Kieran in the Super League basketball with Tralee Warriors, and that comes from Bernard Pop Lynch and family. Hi Tim, best wishes to Kieran and his family. Thanks for his great service to Kerry football. I hope he returns in some role in the future, as it's men like him that made Kerry football what it is today. That comes from Charles. Hi Tim, as the person who covers National League basketball for Kerry's Eye, what makes Kieran stand out is not just his undoubted talent, but the way he treats everyone, whether it be for an autograph or just a few words. A true sporting giant in Kerry. And that comes from Pádraig Harnett. Thanks for the plenty of those great memories, and that comes from Jack Hennessy in Asti. Tim, will you wish the Star Donaghy the very best of luck for the future, and I hope he enjoys his time off with his family. He can celebrate family, friends and life, and that comes from Sean Stack in Listowel. Well, Star, those comments are coming through to us. I know I'm going to move to that topic later on, but what does it feel like that the Kerry folk, even when you're playing the likes of Mayo, if you're playing Dublin, the shouts, the roars from the terrace when they, be it coming on as a sub, warming up, or any time you're on the ball, they've huge affection for you, the Kerry supporters.
They do. It's great. I feed off it. I fed off it my whole career, especially later on in career. I suppose after 2014, I would have realised, I suppose, where the Kerry fans held me. So look, it's obviously it's great, and we need them to be like that with every player and really get behind the boys next year. And look, we're very lucky to be where we're from, and I always had a great rapport with the Kerry fans. I think they realised that, you know, I was giving it my best, whether I was good or bad or indifferent. I think they realised. They saw that I was giving full effort, and if anybody in life gives everything full effort, you can't really fault them.
We'll go back to where we were before the break. Mentioned about the underage level with Kerry, went from minors to under 21s. Can you remember your first senior outing with Kerry?
I suppose my first clear memory is we played Dublin in the National League in Ossenstacks Park, and I was marking Kieran Whelan, who would have been a massive figure in the G8 then, and so that was, I was studying him for about 2 days before the game, and couldn't wait to go at him and try and prove myself to, you know, the manager and my teammates and the fans, and especially up in Tralee. And everything was going great. I had a great first half on him and did well and got on a load of ball and created a few things and tackled and helped out, and but the ball was thrown in for the ball was thrown in for the second half, and he caught me with a bit of an elbow going up for it, and I hit the deck, and when I got up, I could see him going through on goals, and it was like the Red Sea opened, whatever way the Dubs moved to clear the space, and he let a rocket go from about 20 yards in top corner, and kind of came out and let me know about it as if welcome to the game, young fella. And there was a bit of, I wasn't long getting retribution in then, of course, and then it was coming back as well. So it was kind of, that's the way it was going until I'd say Jack said, this fella gets sent off now. He said, I better take him out of here. So I was whipped off, but that would be my first memory.
Kieran, those years that I suppose the county championship was really meant a lot to people and players playing well in county championship. And I know from covering it here for Radio Kerry, the likes of yourself, you were always in our reports, be it scoring, be it against Cairns O'Reilly's, be it Barry O'Shea or any of those where you played really well. There was a real call for a ball winner inside the edge of the square, because we saw against the likes of playing Tyrone's in previous championship games that the ball was going in but it was coming out. So we were looking for a big man on the edge of the square, so there was a call from the public, and I suppose Jack saw that opportunity that we did need somebody in the edge of the square.
Yeah, I think he was. I think he played Micheál Quirk there. Micheál Quirk was doing very well there. I think they tried Adrian O'Connor as well inside there, so it was obviously something that Jack had in his mind. And I played well the previous summer against Stranraer in a few games above in Austin Stacks Park as a full forward, and you know, I'd say they were kind of just saying we had to try something, and luckily for me that it was me they landed on to try in that game, and you know, it was a huge challenge for me, and there was a lot of nerves before the game. I thought I was going to get sick. I was probably as nervous as I've ever been, because I had the 14 on my back now all of a sudden. I wasn't just the fella out hacking around the middle of the field, the big fella that I would have been known as. The next thing, you're full forward and you're looking around that you've Mike Frank in one corner, you've Gooch in the other corner, and I was kind of like going, geez, I'm not that calibre of footballer at all. And you Declan and Paul Galvin and Sean Sullivan and Brosnan and these fellas outside you, and you're just kind of going, just a bit kind of overwhelming for me. But you know, as soon as the game started, you know, Darren put in a peach of a ball first to me, and I caught that, and once I kind of caught that, then I kind of relaxed a bit, and then I started playing really well, and then after 15 minutes we'd 3-4 or 3-5 up on the board, and I was a part of all the scores. So if you could right away for the perfect kind of the perfect start to something like that would have been it, and thankfully it worked out that way.
And from a technical point of view, what was your favourite ball in from the side? Sean Sullivan used to give him in, the likewise Paul Galvin, Tomás O'Shea, that diagonal ball, that suited you, because it's very hard for a full back to come out, especially playing a guy with hands like yourself.
I don't know if you've managed it right, Tim, but anything that gave me a chance that was kind of up in the air and outside me. And do you know what, I didn't mind once it was coming in. I had a battle to win, and that's where I thrived, is trying to just...
Does basketball help, Kieran?
It did, 100%, yeah, 100%, of course.
And is that the peripheral vision, as we call it?
Well, the peripheral vision is the clear and obvious one that stands out for, and you'd even see it there, the few basketballers that were playing for Dublin, the ladies' final yesterday, you just see their vision and their weight of pass and hand passing to a person on the run, and it going into their lap rather than being ahead of them or behind them, and they have to slow down or they have to try and speed up. So I think the peripheral vision and the soft hands is hugely from the basketball side. And then, you know, horsing under a high ball is like horsing under a rebound, and that's what you got to do. You got to win rebounds too, as well as win high balls that are coming in. So it was just like, and I suppose I thrived in that atmosphere of kind of the war zone that was both of those areas.
I met a man from Killarney. Obviously I met a lot of people today, because they knew there was a lot of I suppose we're flagging that you were coming on, Kieran, but what he was saying, that the difference between an average player and a great player is that when you make it into county level, you have vision, you can see things. The Gooch could see ahead of the play, he knows the next move, and he put you in that category as well, Kieran, that it wasn't about just catching that ball and laying it off, but you could see a guy running off your left, running off your right, and you'd plant that ball. Is that what makes a county player, that you can see that couple of seconds ahead to be ahead? Yeah,
I think that's I think there's loads of fellas with talent out there that don't make it. Way more talent than I would have ever had. But that's the essence of it. You know, you can have all the talent in the world, but you have to be ahead up here, and you have to see the game ahead, like, you know, and thankfully I had that in the both codes I played. And they stood to me dramatically, like, you know, I could know, I'd have a feeling for what was going to happen, you know, even a ball coming off the post, I'd have already thought about it, where it's going to hit, where do I have to get to. So there's lots of stuff that's going through the mind there. I think the basketball helps with thinking on the field, and I think that's why most basketballers that have played at the top level, the one thing you'd say about all of them is they were very smart. Because I think in basketball it's a thinking man's game, you know, as well as all the passion and effort it takes, but it's a thinking man's game. You have to know what's going on, you have to know the time, you have to know how many fouls you have to know what's left in the shot clock, you have to know what's left in the game clock, you have to know how much you're up by, how much you're down by, what subs, is your man in foul trouble, am I in foul trouble? There's so much going on that I think when these guys come onto the basketball court, you know, and when they transfer from the basketball to the football, they're doing all the same things. So they look like the smartest guys, not the smartest guys, but the guys that are that step ahead because they know what needs to be done, because they know the score, they know what's left. So it's a huge thing it's a huge transferable part of the game.
Kieran, can we talk about winning your first All-Ireland medal? What it meant to you as a player, as a Donaghy, member of the family, winning an All-Ireland senior medal, winning it for your club, and likewise for Kerry?
Sure, look, it was stuff that dreams are made of, really. Like, you know, it was, you know, you go up and you think you know, you're going into an All-Ireland final, and, you know, you're 70 minutes away from your dream, really. And, like, it was nearly beyond the dream for me, do you know, that kind of way, as I said, because I made it clear that I never saw myself as that Kerry footballer, do you know what I mean? I saw myself as a fella that could try and make it or whatever, but you know, to the night we won it, and, you know, sitting upstairs in the room and getting ready to go down to the banquet, and we'd won the game and everything was good, like, you know, and you know, I said to Hilary, like, I'm going to be up on a wall in a bar in Kerry with Seamus Mining, in 50 years time that picture will be up on the wall, some bar, and just to be linked with the history was big for me. And obviously, look, the medal is a huge thing for me, my family and my club, and I knew how much it meant to my family, both the Donaghys in the north and everybody down here, the Fitzgeralds. And look, it was huge. It was a massive night for us, and very nice, because on the way up when I was young, there was ups and downs. There was times where I was, you know, staying on the couch with the Americans, and I was out drinking a few nights a week, and I just wasn't living the life. So there was tough times when we were young, and my mum did an unbelievable job raising three of us from, I suppose, the age of when I was 10 or 11 on. She was by herself with three, and my grandmother obviously took us in across the road, and we you know, we started a kind of another family from there on, and the work that they did to get me to where I am today was I can never repay them, really.
Before I go to break, if you can remember back, where were you the Friday night before you played your first All-Ireland? That's a 6 marker for you.
I can barely remember where it was last Friday night. My last Friday.
You were in my house, by the way.
Okay.
You called up, and because I...
Oh yes, I remember now.
There's a huge fan of yours, Kira, my daughter at the time, and you sat down and you watched Sky Sports for about an hour. There was a basketball game on.
Right.
And I always remember my mother-in-law met you at the door as you were leaving, and all you turned around and you said, will you say a prayer for me this weekend? I want to win an All-Ireland. So that was a great memory for me.
I was big with the prayers.
Big with the prayers. We've plenty more after this break. Very welcome back here to Terrace Talk. Tonight I have in studio the great man himself, Kieran Donaghy, who announced his retirement last week from playing inter-county football. Those comments coming through to us. Best of luck from Geraldine Harrington, Tralee. Kieran, a true Rocky, and went to Holy Family School with her son. Best wishes from the Donaghy family in Gallasfield, Tralee. Texan from the UK, being a huge fan of Star, was the reason I flew back for matches. He's been a great advocate for Kerry football and sports for the kingdom, and that comes from Heather. Eileen and John Scully of Beaufort are sitting down and listening to Kieran on the radio for the next 2 hours. Kieran is their favourite player, a great master of the game and a gentleman. John Scully always enjoyed meeting Kieran. John played for Mid-Kerry and always enjoyed his chats with Kieran about football and got lots of tips from him. The very best of luck to you and your family in the years ahead. Beautiful photo of Kieran and his family on the front page of this week's Kerry's Eye. Best wishes in your retirement, and that comes from the Valencia GA Club, and thanks for the great memories, Kieran. Best wishes to Kieran and wishes him the very best for the future. What an inspiration you are, and thank you for all the years in the Kerry jersey. A true gent, and that comes from Eileen O'Donnell. And finally, congrats to Kieran, the star, on your retirement. Who was the toughest full-back you ever came up against? And thanks for the brilliant memories. And that comes from Pat Kelly in Kilrush. We might ask you that question now, Kieran. Who was the greatest full-back that you ever marked?
I just did a small piece there for PST Sport. I did a bit of an interview for our website today, and I was asked that exact question, and the answer I gave was that there was a lot of very good fullbacks that I came up against, and I wouldn't want to do any of them the injustice of naming one or the other, because some of them were unbelievable. But I suppose what I found toughest more than a tough fullback was the toughest kind of defensive system, not even system, but just defensive team, as in a team that defends as a unit, as a back six, that help each other and that leave their own men and go after the ball and hunt in packs and stuff like that. And the Tyrone team of 05 to 08 would be in that category, along with the current Dublin team, and just that they're all excellent defenders by themselves, and then, you know, they throw in the dynamic of always being in the right position, always knowing when to leave their man and go help somebody else, knowing that there's rotation there. There's a great understanding amongst both teams, and they were probably the toughest I found to go against, because you could catch a ball, you know, and you'd land, but there'd be another two guys there, or it was just very hard to negotiate both them kind of systems, really.
Was that frustrating for you, Kieran? After the first couple of years, people got to know the system. We were going to put in a diagonal ball, they'd play a man in front of you when you break that ball, and they'd come out with it at pace. Was that very frustrating for you then, that as if they had copped on to the Kerry system? Yeah,
I don't know, of course. It was, look, we were all I was my whole career trying to get better myself, and obviously trying to make everybody else better, and, you know, knowing how dangerous the tactic was. You know, when it was a bit more one-on-one, of course it's going to be a bit frustrating, but like, sure, life is frustrating sometimes. You know, you have to try and, I suppose, pick your way around it and try and figure out how to get a different angle, or a better ball in, or start winning more balls out in front, engage the sweeper, whatever it was. I went at was to try and help Kerry win and put my own. You know, every year couldn't be 2006. You know, I'm not silly either, but, you know, like, there was times when, you know, there was times when it didn't work, and there was times when it worked. And when it doesn't work, it's a very funny tactic to high ball in, actually, because when it doesn't work, it looks very bad and it can frustrate people. But when it does work, there's nothing like it. You know, the buzz it brings to the crowd when that ball is in the air and there's two fellas going competing, and next thing the ball's rattling the net. I don't think there's any buzz like that you can get out of Gaelic football as a fan, more so than the ball going in and a guy catching it and laying it off and a guy sticking it in the net. I think that's. But then the other side is when it goes in and they punch it out, you don't catch it, then they get the break, then you're chasing. Then people are saying it's a hard tactic to execute, and it's very predictable. There's no problem when it's predictable when you're winning. Like 2006 was predictable as well, but it was all so good it didn't matter. We all knew it was going on. So it's you're either here or you're either there. And, you know, there was times, certainly in my career, there was games where I might have been thrown on, or I was in there and the ball was coming in left, right and centre, and just wasn't getting my hands in it. And, you know, I took full responsibility for not winning the ball, and kind of, you know, I'd have to deal with that for the rest of the winter, then wondering why I didn't do better under certain balls, or why I didn't manage to catch them or grip them or hold them at the last second. And that's what brings you back the following year bigger and stronger, I think.
Kieran, it's such a specialised position as well, full forward, that if after 2 or 3 balls, you know, they break down, they come away with it, it probably looks bad for the player inside. He's not winning though. Would a guy out the field get away with more because he's not the focal point?
There's always the corner forward is yanked first time you're around long enough. No, that's normally because, you know, the team is playing bad and there's 2 or 3 balls have gone into him and they've hopped off him and he hasn't won them, and the first thing you look at is, yeah, we're losing, it's not going well, he's after dropping a few balls, get him out of there. So, you know, yeah, it is a tough position to play, like, you know, and it'll be getting tougher if they leave it the way it is, and it's you know, it's going to take a lot of patience to play inside there now. And, you know, there's players too with the class to rise above all that too, and they'll always be there. So look, it's you know, it's that's the way the defence is kind of shaped up. And, you know, they had to counteract it someday. Was the bomber often slags me, it was great for us, we were 1-on-1 all the time. He said you only got it for a year or so. So no, it was, look, it'd be lovely obviously if it was 15-on-15 and you could just go out with the job of beating your man. Jesus, I would have enjoyed the ride even more if that was the case.
Kieran, you won your first All-Ireland senior medal then in 06. You wanted to add more to them, and plenty of more success came your way during your career.
Yeah, I suppose it was funny, you know. I think early on it was kind of, you know, it was 6 finals in a row, and, you know, you're winning All-Irelands and you're losing All-Irelands, and you're thinking more about the ones you've lost, and you're kind of saying, well, look, we'll be back next year again. And then, you start realising then that you were on a team that was, of an exceptionally high level, that you could say you could get to 6 finals in a row. And that was, some guys won 4 medals in that time. Do you know what I mean? I got 3, and, so success was very much early on. But then, success dried up, and we had a lot of hard days. We lost to Down, where personally it was my most disappointing game for Kerry, where I felt was the one, probably the second, that and the 08 final against Tyrone were probably the 2 times I felt, that I kind of let Kerry down and didn't perform when they needed me most. And that was certainly hard to take. And, and then you go on and you have the Down game, as I said, and then you lose the final in 11, which was heartbreaking. And then you had the 13 or you the 12 Donegal game, and then you 13 you were beaten again. So it was very tough for a few years there. And then the old team were fading away, and you were getting a few new guys in again, and they were able to drive it on for 2014.
How did you get the hunger year after year to come back? Was it the tradition has a huge part of it, I take it?
Yeah, of course, the tradition is everything. And don't get me wrong, I don't think I would have been playing for 12 or for 14 seasons if I was with another county. I can honestly say that I probably wouldn't have kept going, as much as of a competitor as I am. I don't see myself, every year I was lucky enough to lace up the boots for my first training session and kind of say, we have a chance of winning an All-Ireland, and look, that's why I'm lucky I'm from Kerry, and that isn't lost on me either. And but that was, it's easy to have hunger, Tim, when you know there's a big prize there, and you got to just go after it, and then you got to get the rub of the green and the bounce of the ball and all them things, and sometimes you get them and sometimes you don't. And I kind of learned to accept that as my career was coming to an end.
Those comments still coming through for you, Kieran. Happy retirement, star, from Tommy Dowling even, listening in Portugal. Tom Nash, Tarbert, best of luck in your retirement. It's a pity that you're retiring. You will be missed. Best wishes, a star, from Catherine in North Kerry. She still has the streamers from that great win in 2014 and will always remember the great line. What do you think of that, Joe Brolly? You will be missed, star. Hi, please, can you wish Kieran all the best for the future, from Liz. My daughter was so gutted when she heard you retired from inter-county football. You made the celebrations for the birthday girl and her friends. Big thank you for standing into a photo last Saturday at the Aquadome. Listening as a star still gives me a lump in the throat, alas. If only the referee gave him fair play on the field of play. Best wishes to Kieran. A pity he did not get more protection from referees. And that comes from Pado. Do you think you deserve more protection? Because players were really getting stuck into you, weren't they, defenders?
Look, Timmy, when I'm coaching my basketball camp, if I have 2 bunches of 5-year-olds and there's one big fella in there, and he's 6 and he's in the younger group, and he's getting the ball inside, human nature is, the 5-year-olds are hanging off him, and you kind of let it go once or twice. So look, I have a full understanding with the refs when they see a big fella going for a ball and he's been horsed out of it. Human nature is human nature. You can never change. Of course, I'd love if the refs refed it by the actual letter of the law, and they were, a lot of them were often 50 yards away from me when the ball was going in, because they weren't. You can't be in there if you're out in the ball. You can't be inside, so they're an awful long way away. Which is why, obviously, I think we could do with maybe getting another ref behind both goals and a ref out in the middle, and paying 3 people and let off the umpires and just go with 3 refs, because I think they could help each other. And I think they could, if a high ball's coming in and you have a ref with a whistle that's standing behind the goals and I'm getting pulled around the neck, he's going to blow the whistle automatically because he's 2 feet away from it. He can see it perfectly. Whereas we've a ref that's 50 yards away from me, he's not going to call. He can't make the call because he has to be 100% sure.
Do you think the umpires should have more of an input? Because you were as close as anyone to umpires.
I think umpires, they could have more of an input, but they're not. I don't know how. When it comes to it, I just think the having an extra referee, the Aussie rules have 2 guys. It works very well. They've got 2 guys that ref out in the field, and then they've got 2 single umpires, and they have to cover a width of about 30 metres, because in the Aussie rules you've got the 2 posts and then you've got the outside post, and they've 1 person covering all 4 posts. So I think if we can have 1 person covering all 4 posts, I think a referee / that's doing an umpire's role, but is also able to blow the whistle and run out and give the free and keep the ref's legs for the middle third and let the other ref look after the bottom end. I think once they have a good understanding, I think there should be more communication between refs and teams. When I played with the international rules, the refs came in beforehand. They said what they were looking for. They said what they wouldn't accept. They said they were going to be fair. We're going to look out for this. And then when it happened in the game, you're going to go, he did say beforehand he was going to look out for that. And
something to be learned there?
I think so, massive. I think there's a very much the refs and the players and management, and some of them you can't even talk to them on the pitch when you try and talk to them. And the Aussie rules guys, they're so much bigger. They kind of just they interact. The talk they have is wonderful to listen to. I think the respect they gain from it, because yourself, if you're walking in the shop and the cashier serves you and you say thank you and she doesn't say anything, you're kind of like, oh, well, you should respond. And when you want to talk to a ref and you're trying to be calm, and they don't want to hear it and they run away from you, that brings your blood up, and then the next time you get a half interaction, it comes out the wrong way. And I've been on both sides of it, and the refs are doing their best. I just think everything we can do to help them, we could. And I think can we do that in every game? No, we can't do it in every game. And in every game there'll be, in every 14 club game, there'll be one referee and there'll be 2 umpires. But I think when it comes to the guys who are training 5 nights a week and putting their life on hold, I think the least that the most important thing is that you understand that you're going to get absolute kind of professionalism from officials. And I think we should also be paying them more. If I'm being honest, I think they should be getting paid more. I think there should be more of a reward for how good you are during the game, because there's enough money there. The ref's getting 300 or 400 euros in an All-Ireland final, and there's 12 or 14 million being made. So I think we should reward the good referees and keep them doing as many of the big games as possible. Would be a big one. Yeah,
great stuff. Kieran, you're going to stay with us. We'll now take a break. You're very welcome back here to Terrace Talk. Of course, I have in studio tonight the great man himself, Kieran Donaghy. After announcing his retirement last week, he promised me he'd come into Terrace Talk. Well, he's a man that stuck to his promise. He's here with us tonight, and some great comments coming in, being generated, a pure affection and to Kieran and what he's, I suppose he adorned that Kerry jersey. Good evening, Tim. Enjoying the Star, and that comes from Josephine O'Donnell in Ray Coshla in Brosnan. Of course, I'd like to say hello to Josephine. She's a great, I suppose, supporter of our Terrace Talk programme here down through the years, and delighted to get that text from that particular lady. Best of luck to Star, a mighty footballer and basketball player. You will be missed, and that comes from Ita Hannon in Bale. Thanks, Star, for the great memories. The day against Armagh when you buried it, was my favourite memory, and that comes from Eddie Stack in Tralee. Wishing the Star all the very best in the future. Thanks for all those fantastic memories, and we have no doubt you will not be too far away from the Kerry setup in the future. We will see you on the basketball courts, and that comes from Jackie, Yvonne and Sarah Coffey. Ask Star how many points does he think Liverpool will finish above Chelsea this season, and that comes from Sean O'Sullivan on Twitter. I take it that's your former colleague stroke player on the Kerry team. St. Pat's of East Kerry, best wishes to Kieran. We'd love to have seen you hurl for Kerry. What a warrior you would be with a hurley in your hand and bearing down and goal. You brought us so many happy days with the high ball. Sean O'Keefe on Twitter, best wishes to Star on his retirement. An infectious character on the pitch. Great memories. Always remember the buzz he created versus Longford at the Fitzgerald Stadium, and carried on from there. That's a text there we got about Armagh that day. Of course, everything. I remember the late great Liam Higgins. He was doing a preview of the game here on I think it was Kerry Today at the time, and I was doing a bit on the sideline that time for Radio Kerry, getting interviews and chasing guys like yourself, Kieran. And they were all afraid of Kieran Donaghy going up against this so-called monster at the time that they were calling him, Francie Bellew. And I remember Liam Higgins saying, if he's a man, he'll go in and he'll beat Bellew. And I'll always remember that and that's what you did. When you rounded Francie, he went to the ground and you rounded and you stuck the ball in the net. Am I allowed to ask you what you said to the keeper when you went face to face with him, Kieran?
No, you didn't read my book, Tim, if you don't know what I said.
But I want the real thing this time, Kieran.
Jeez, I tell you, I was lucky I wasn't taken off before that. Fair play to Jack Connor for sticking with me.
Were you so fired up for that particular game? That was pure, I suppose, frustration. It was all left out when you hit the back of the net.
Yeah, because I wasn't playing well, Tim. I was close to looking over to the sideline a few times, and I knew the call wouldn't be too far away. But I think because of how well I played, in the Longford game, I think Jack just said we'll stick it out for another while. I think if I didn't play as well, say if I just did an average game against Longford, I think I would have been gone after 25 minutes against Armagh, because I hadn't done much. I dropped the ball out over a sideline. I was nervous. It was starting in Kerry with Kerry and Crow Park for the first time as a senior, as a player at all, and so yeah, it was all a bit overawing. And I remember Sean slagging me about Liverpool and Chelsea there. Sean knows what happens. Last time Liverpool were close to win the league against Chelsea, there was a famous fella slipped over, but there was, the ball, he put a lovely ball in the outside left boot, and I tapped it down to Gooch, and Gooch had a shot, nearly got a goal. Mike Frank got the rebound and put it over, and we got another one right before half time, and it closed the 6-point deficit to 4, I think, at half time. And Sean Sullivan came out and put a ball in, and yeah, I caught it and shimmied, and just as I turned him, and I kind of got that yard from him, again from the basketball, the peripheral vision, as I was turning, I could see Paul Healy running out, and I could see he was kind of leaning towards the natural place to put it would be outside him. So I said I'd roof it as hard as I could past him, and thankfully it hit the net.
What a roar from the Kerry crowd that day when you hit the net. Kieran, we mentioned, I suppose, when I had you in here last year, the year before, when you were speaking about your book, you mentioned your dad, and it was a very difficult time. It was an emotional time as well. Of course, you've lost your dad, and you mentioned you moved in with your grandma, and you built up a huge relationship with your grandma, and that's the house you were reared. Does that for your kids now, and I know your adoration of your girls and your wife, is that part of it that you're minding? You probably didn't get that mind in yourself from your dad, and now you want to express that with your own family?
No, I was definitely minded by my dad. There was just he was having problems, and there was just some tough times. But I suppose my mum was showing us enough love that that we needed and that we ever wanted for. So I think for me, being a dad, it's just about that. I just want to try and do the best job possible for them. Because I suppose I'd examples of my dad when he was good, and then I'd examples of him when he was bad. And a person like my mum, who was always good, who never went out or never, she put us first 100 times. And I obviously know I can't put them fully first with sport, but every second that I'm not playing sport or I'm not working with PST, I'm trying to be at home, and I'm trying to be close, and I'm trying to be, just with them, and really enjoy just making them laugh. And I'm taking Lola Rose. There was someone said there, the picture at the Aquadome, we get well looked after in the Aquadome when we go in, and there's slides, and there's the girls will be giving her lollipops, and she just loves that, and I love taking her down no matter what, even if I have to do it every weekend, just to be with them. And love. You
try to get a balance?
Loving being a dad, absolutely. Yeah, I have a great balance. Thankfully, I have a great balance. Obviously, look, I'm busy with sport and busy outside it, but I've very lucky to have a lovely home here in Tralee, and to be able to get out every evening or lunchtime from work or whatever, and catch up, and a few hugs and kisses is always welcome.
Kieran, who was your closest mate on those Kerry teams for the years? I know you speak a lot of the Gooch. Obviously, you were all very good friends. You were a family in there. But there's always one guy that you can rely on. You'll tell him everything. I take it you had one.
Funny enough, Tim, I had about 40. I had fellas that, I was the same way with most of my teammates, and I couldn't pick one of them out, because all of them have outstanding qualities in different ways, and how professional the new guys are, and what level they've taken it to from a preparation point of view, and then the brilliance and a bit of devilment that the Galvins and the Tomásas and the Darras and these fellas had, and so we'd kind of all covered, really. We'd a lot of tough boys that were going to war, and like all my teammates from the day I finished to the day I started, I'd have a huge rapport with most of them, and that's, I suppose, what I was most proud of in the last number of days is the words and the text messages and private messages from my teammates, and that was hugely that was the most important thing to me, I think, was the reaction from the lads.
Actually, I saw one lovely, it was a tweet, or it was actually in the Irish Independent, I think, from Tomás O'Shea. He said, Manny's the guy that won an All-Ireland medal with Kerry. But as far as Kieran Donaghy was concerned, Kieran Donaghy won it for Kerry. That was a lovely line.
Yeah, unbelievable coming from a peer like Tomas and the player he was and the legend he was for Kerry. So that's Tomas won us plenty of medals too, I can tell you.
Yeah, great stuff. Kieran, you're going to stay with us, of course, at 7:30 as well. We'll be talking to the Camogie girls who went to an All-Ireland final like Kieran and lost it. So we'll have those at 7:30. But Kieran is going to stay with us after 7. We'll have plenty more after this break. Well, I'm back with Kieran again. Kieran, we spoke about all the All-Irelands and you said the disappointments, the ones you don't win, and the hunger is there. Can I ask you, and I suppose the most talked about topic of a Kerry management or whatever, the one where you could say you were dropped for the final, you were captain of the Kerry team. Is that the one that hurts most? You were you wanted to lead around your team in front of the Artane boys band. Your team was after winning the county championship.
I think it's the fact that we lost the game probably bothers me more than all that, if I'm being honest. We were going for 2 in a row. Would have been the second time in my career I'd achieved that. That's a big goal. And that'd be the biggest disappointment, that we didn't win that game, and the fact that it was a final, and the fact that it was against the Dubs in Croke Park and being captain, obviously. But I just think the fact that we lost an All-Ireland final was probably what was most devastating, because at that stage I felt it was probably the end. So that was a tough day, alright, I'm not going to lie.
I was sitting in the commentary box beside Weeshy and Gary O'Sullivan, and I think Gerard O'Connor was up there with us as well. But I could see it a number of times, the big screen in Croke Park, during when, at times when Dublin were on top, the camera used to go on you, they'd zoom in on you because of all the talk and all the build-up. Was it very frustrating that you wanted to get on that pitch?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I wanted to get on the pitch because it was a tough day for us and things weren't going well. So of course you want to get in and you want to try and affect it, and that's what I tried to do when I got in there. And we nearly created 1 or 2 things that could have got us a draw on another day out with a better day. Could have been a good day for Kerry, but that's the way the game goes. We didn't get the calls late on and we ended up losing, and it was certainly a massive disappointment for that team, and obviously for me in particular.
Kieran, I suppose no different to the Gooch, has lost as many as he won. Do you dwell too much on that, or you just think about focusing on the ones? You're not a guy to dwell on the days you lost. You have to move on, don't you?
Well, I didn't move on, to be honest, Tim, until about a week ago. Them 4 defeats and 4 finals, along with the 4 we won, but the 4 defeats would have harboured in my head a lot. And and I think maybe in the last few years I've started to kind of relax on that, and just obviously understand that there's 32 teams stack up at the start of the year, and you can't win them all. Certainly, it was probably in the last few days I've kind of probably hearing the stuff that's been said and reading some of the stuff that it kind of made me take stock of how lucky I was and the journey that I was on, and how much I affected fans and family members with what I was able to do out on the pitch. So I think the last few days have been very good for my mind. That's that way.
And how comfortable, you said your own peers, you mentioned Tomas O'Shea and some opponents as well, many of them that you played against, the high esteem they hold you in. That must mean a lot to you, Kieran. Yeah,
that's the as I said earlier on, that was the most heartwarming and I suppose defining moment of my career would be that my teammates thought I was a good solid guy and a good teammate, and I think that's what everybody should try and aspire to be, because when you're a good teammate, it rubs off and it can do nothing but help. So when things aren't going with you, if you're a youngster out there and they're not going well for you, and you're finding it hard, just think about the team and put the team first, and just concentrate on trying to help them to win, and things could roll back in your favour. But don't do the ties out of the pram, and don't do the huff and walking out of dressing rooms and walking out of team talks, and it does no good for you. It doesn't reflect well on you, and it doesn't reflect, your teammates look at you a bit differently, and just try and be the guy that's always there and always willing to help somebody if they're struggling, and have a look out for someone that's struggling and make them off, and then just try and follow through what you're preaching. I think you can't be the guy preaching and not following through on what you're talking about. So I think, whatever you say to a team, go out and try your best to do it, and you should be okay.
Kieran, speaking to guys since you announced your retirement, and ladies as well, and what they think of you, outside of not playing with Kerry, a lot of people think that if you were or whoever's the next manager of Kerry should bring you in, be it a selector, be it for motivational, helping young guys because you're fresh off the circuit, as they say. If the Kerry manager tomorrow morning asked Kieran Donaghy to come on board, would Kieran come on board?
I don't know if I have enough experience in that kind of role, and you're talking about the Kerry senior team here. You're talking about one of the best bunch of players in the country, and they deserve the very best. And I'd be afraid that I'm not up to speed with that side of it, and I'd have to do a good bit of work on that side of it first to even entertain it.
Kieran, we'll talk about the Kerry manager. Like, what's needed now from a Kerry? You've come off, I suppose, a couple of years where we haven't been successful. Maybe we're waiting for a crop of players. You have to have the talent coming through. What's needed for Kerry to be successful again?
I think the county really getting behind the team. They don't realise how important they are to us. There's a reason that we haven't lost in Killarney in 20 years. And the reason we haven't lost, and there's been games, Tim, you know it, and I know it, that we should have been beaten out the gate. We were down 7-3, we were down 11-4 one year against Cork, and against the Cork team that were outstanding. And up until 2015, the year I was captain, we were down. And the Kerry crowd in Killarney drove us over the line. So what I think we need to do is we need to get to league games, and I think when the championship kicks off, we need to become a big family down in Kerry, and we need to say we're going to get behind our boys and not make excuses to not go to the game because of the traffic or because of the weather or because of this. If you can afford it, get behind Kerry, because there's a young team coming, and by God, there are a lot of talented players. And I think the more us as a county get behind that bunch and support them through thick and thin, get behind them, rally the call, get the flags out. Don't wait for an All-Ireland final to put your flags up, because we haven't been in one in 3 years. Get your flags up for your Munster Championship. Get your Kerry flags hanging out the window. Get your Kerry jerseys on. Get up to games. And when ye are there, that will drive the players to perform even better. And we are training like dogs to be right for Kerry to win. But when you have that bit of support, and as I said, we haven't lost in Killarney in 20 years, and there's been a lot of games we should have lost, but we managed to pull them out of the bag because the crowd got behind us. And obviously the players have to up it, they have to up their intensity levels, but that has to happen every year. And the players will do that. They'll know themselves last year wasn't good enough. And I think they're going to drive on next year, and there'll be another injection of youth, there'll be a new manager on board, a new team. And I just think they really need to feel it and see it in the towns and the villages around Kerry, to see flags up. You go up and you drive into some random town before a game, and if their team are in a Leinster final or thing, there's flags everywhere because they mightn't have been there in so long. So I just think that you don't realise it, you see, when you stick a flag out the window. But when I drive past on my way out to Killarney and I see a flag out the window,
what does it mean to you as a player?
It means a lot, because I say they're behind us, there's flags out, and it does, and it's only a fraction, that's half a fraction, but all these little inches add up on game day. And that's all well and good, but when you get that, you see, and you start getting it infectious, and you start getting it positive with the flags out and the bunting up and the people talking about it, next thing people start saying, you know what, we'll go to the game on Sunday, because they get to feel it themselves. And you see, when that what the reaction that happens is the players are out in the field, they're losing, we're struggling. Next thing, all of a sudden, something goes well. Next thing, that crowd come in, that big crowd from Kerry, to let you know they're there. And like the Gaelic grounds is a prime example of it, Tim. If we had 5,000 above in the Gaelic grounds, we would have been beaten by Mayo that day. That is a fact. Because that game was one of those games, and that's the advantage the Dubs have. They're playing the All-Ireland final on their home pitch with more crowd than anybody else. And that is an advantage. Are they a brilliant team? Have they a brilliant management team? Have they great players? Of course they have. But then again, they get an extra advantage of...
like a 16-man.
And that's what it is, the 16th man, and it's huge in basketball. We see it in the complex, Tim. You've been up there. The teams come down. They're nearly, they come into the hall. There's 1,000 people. They're blown away, and they find it hard to win. and that's going to be huge, I think, for our county going forward. That we gotta really rally the troops.
Well, if our listeners tonight, if they're heeding that, just for our support for next year for our season, get behind our kingdom. The great Micheál Murray Hartig recorded a lovely poem you wrote to the announcement of your retirement last week, and have a listen to this.
Kerry, I thank you. Up to Croker in 97, my dream it began, standing in the Nally. I said, maybe I can. The famine was ended and Kerry were back. As a miner 4 years later, I'd give it a crack. Thank God I'm from Kerry. We're sure are the best. History, tradition, St. Brendan on the crest. I played right on the edge, not a backward step taken. Will I ever apologise? You must be mistaken. By God it was special, the green and gold on my back. I did my job well, in the air I'd attack. To the jersey I say, I love you. I wore you with pride. Don't win them all, but so hard I tried. The future is exciting. We must support our team. It's been so emotional, and we've shared that dream. That's a big part of it. That's what we're all about. It's the jersey. It's Kerry. It's up the kingdom we shout. I'll never forget ye. Ye know who ye are. Bonded forever. On the pitch, at the bar. We climbed all the mountains. They look good from the top. Celtic crosses in our pockets. Those memories won't stop. Fitzgerald Stadium was home. It's where I kicked my last ball. After hugging my brothers, the tears they did fall. I shouldn't be sad. We were good for each other. Now's the right time to hand it to another. The next chapter is here. Oh, I can't wait. No ifs, no buts, only total faith. Hillary, Lola Rose and Indy by my side made it so much a no-brainer to eventually decide. My Kerry, my family, my mum and my nan, Donaghys, Fitzgeralds and the O'Connors are my clan. This sums up my journey, and one thing's for sure, in the words of John B., I'm one lucky whore.
It's absolutely great stuff there from Micheál Murray Hartig, of course, about the great Kieran the Star Donaghy, and those comments coming flying through to us. Best wishes to Kieran. He's been a great friend to the staff and students of St. Itas and St. Joseph, giving a wonderful speech to us on perseverance and self-belief. Well done to his mum Deirdre. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Stephen Wallace says Kieran has a few stories to tell about the Underdog series, especially the one trying to wake Kieran up in the morning as we were heading off to Underdogs training. Amazing where it all started, and for him to go on and achieve what he did. Just to remind anybody who's access to Facebook out there, at the last segment of this interview, we will go Facebook Live. Plenty more after this break. I have to mention the basketball. Of course, your camp is coming up. It comes up during the midterm break, and obviously we'll shout out about sharing the post publicly so as we know who won those prizes. It's going well with the last number of years.
Yeah, it's something that there's a great look. What's happening with basketball full stop in Kerry, Timmy, has been unbelievable, really. And I started a camp there, and there was the first year it just barely kind of got off the ground. It was all quite rushed, but I think since then the camp has been unbelievable. The kids get a great experience. They get free gear and free basketballs, and they get huge attention off the coaches, and I kind of demand that off the coaches, that this isn't you'd see some camps where people might be standing by a post and there's 20 kids kicking it over the bar, but this is real coaching and real trying to make them better, and most importantly to make it fun for them. But I'm going to add in something this year about how to be a good teammate, I'm going to talk about bullying, online social media, that we don't stand for it in the camp, and we tell kids on the first morning ever, if there's any hint of online bullying, you're gone from the camp. So I do a bit of a talk on making sure that you're never a bully, that kind of way. And so there'll be little talks each morning about certain aspects of to try and help them in their career as little things come up. And then we got excellent coaches. We've great players that have coached with me over a number of years. And I think Pat Price, the Super League coach with the new Super League coach with the Warriors, who's an unbelievable coach, and who the team have been telling me they're blown away by how good training has been since the season started. So, to have all that going on, but the camp is fun, and the camp is enjoyable, and the kids get a great kick out of it. And I most of the time, like, I've opened up the camp now for booking tonight, and it'll probably be full in a week, and that's the way it's gone the last 2 years. And I think it's because most of the people that have been there come back and their kids have a good enough experience, and I try to be very inclusive with everybody, try and tend to all the abilities and not make it a kind of if you're very good you're going to get all this attention, and just try and give everybody the same love. And the nicest stories I've got back from the camp, Tim, are kids 2 years later that were that they didn't know whether they were going playing. They might send me a post. They didn't know if they were going to be into basketball, and they just went to my camp one day, and now they're on their teams, or they're on the Southwest of Ireland team, or that kind of stuff. So it's hugely satisfying that way. But also I just enjoy, like, people know me, I enjoy working with people and with kids especially, because you get their full attention, and you can really mould a youngster, whereas when you get to my age we're kind of moulded already. We're like old rams. There's not much else can go in, but the kids out there are like sponges today, and we try to make sure at the camp that they really enjoy it, and they really get better and go away a better person and a better player.
And we might mention the Garveys, Tralee Warriors as well. That season is coming up, and I'm sure we'll have a packed complex over the next
I think this season is going to be the most enjoyable out of them all, Tim. I think there's a great buzz around the town about it. I think the team we've assembled is good, and if we're healthy we'll be a force to be reckoned with. But it's going to be a very tough league. We know what it was like last year. But I think Pat Price has brought a real new sense of urgency to us, and I think we'll be playing a lot higher tempo of a game this year with Pat, and I think it'll be even more exciting for the fans in the complex to see the basketball we have. And we were blessed with Trey Pemberton for 2 wonderful years here with the Warriors, and this Jordan Evans is some player, and he's going to be a guy that's going to be selling out the complex. And the first game, Timmy, is above in the complex against Killarglen. So we've 2 Kerry teams back in the Super League. So we used to call it the Donegal derbies when we used to go to Killarney, take them on in the INEC. But now you've got Killarglen, you've Killarney doing very well in Division 1. You could be looking at the possibility of next year, if Killarney do well this year, of 3 Super League outfits going into one little county down here, and that'd be something going for us. And the love of the game, the St. Brendan's and Imperials, they do with the young academies in town. There's 50 or 60 kids there every Tuesday evening. Our Americans are going down, our foreign players are helping out with the coaching. And when you're young and you've got this guy coming down helping you, and next thing you see him scoring 30 points, I was that kid. And that's why the camp and that's why basketball is so important to me, because I want to try and, if it's one kid that gets the boost that can go on and do something, it's all worth it in the end.
Yeah, great stuff. You have a great love of basketball, Kieran. Kieran, can I talk about I suppose Kerry? We've serious talent, and I suppose one man, and it went viral. We were doing a commentary up in Monaghan, as Ambrose said, our saviour. He did that day about David Clifford. The future is bright for Kerry, I take it.
The future is bright. I said it in my poem, Tim. Future is bright, of course, and our boys will be trying to do everything to win, and trying to knock the Dubs off their perch, or whoever else could be in a final. And I know our guys want to get there and get back there. There's very ambitious guys in there, great players, the O'Donoghues, the Paul Gainey's, the Paul Murphy's, the David Cliffords, David Moran's, Barry Johns. We've got loads of guys, and then we've got this young conveyor belt that are going to come into that group. And I think the future is extremely bright, and can't wait to watch them put that jersey on next year and go to battle for us down here, and try and become the most famous Kerry team of all time if they stop that 5 in a row. So they have a huge ambition there, and they have a huge chance to become, if they win, if Kerry can manage to get their hands on something next year and upset the party, it'll be remembered for a long time. So they have a beautiful
an opportunity.
An opportunity is the word I'm looking for. They have a great opportunity, and I would urge them now, every one of them players, to go like dogs training for the winter, and put away everything else and just be really so one track minded that when it comes to the day that you'll be just unbeatable, and that's what we have to get to, and I hope to see that happen sooner rather than later.
Kieran, the next Kerry manager, who may or may not have it, a lot of talk going around our county at the moment. What's needed? Huge leadership needed now for managing the management
leadership
team.
needed, yeah. Management team got to come in with new ideas, and they got to come in and they got to be ambitious, and they got to be brave, and they got to try stuff, and we got to give them time to try stuff, and they got to be just coming with all that, and they're coming into a team that are willing to learn, that are open to learn, that are hard working, that are skillful and talented, and they really got to drive the team and just get them as physically as fit and strong, and get them mentally as fit and strong. And I think if we can match teams with that, I think we have enough football to win.
There's a number of names being thrown about out there, and I'm not trying to put you in a spot. Who do you think, but winning a fifth All-Ireland minor title is brilliant, unique. We got there before the Dubs at football. We might have done it at minor level, but Peter Keane is bringing, I suppose, getting great respect right around the county for his achievement over the last couple of years. Yeah,
I think all the candidates have great merit to be there, and the managers one thing, and whoever gets it, I'm sure they'll do a good job. But I think management teams and who you have with you and the level of coaching that they're getting is just as important. So I think it's more than a manager. I think the manager is obviously a huge part, but the management team are even bigger. But most of all, what are bigger than all is the players, and it's the players. The management can do so much, but it's the players that are going to have to bring it on game day, and bring the war zone that we need, and as I said, they've buckets of ability, that bunch of players inside there. So it'll be very hopefully very enjoyable year to support Kerry football. But more than anything, and I already said it, Tim, is we really need to get behind our boys and shut the naysayers up and get positive with our team, and as I said, do everything that's the Kerry way. And there was fellas 50, 60 years ago getting into a train blowing Waterville, and they were heading up, and they were going up, and they were 12 hours on it.
We should do more of that.
They didn't have a bob in their pocket, and they made their way to Crow Park, and they made their way home by truck or by car or by train or whatever. And I think it's so accessible to this days, Tim, that it's easier to stay at home, but you get no experience staying at home. You get no life. You like the experience I have of my dad bringing me to Munster finals when I was young, going to All-Ireland finals above and thing, going to games. You can't beat that for experience. And fill up the flasks of tea and get the tickets, and if you can afford the tickets, away you go as a family, and you'll get great experience. So supporting this team next year.
One man stepped down before you, Eamon Fitzmaurice. Your thoughts on Eamon? It's been a tough couple of years trying to bring youth coming through. Your thoughts on Eamon as a manager?
Eamon was brilliant, and the team absolutely loved him, and he put his life on hold for us. He gave it absolutely everything he had, and it was enough because it landed us in All-Ireland, and in fairness, we were quite unlucky a number of other times, and you see, when you're quite unlucky and you lose by a small margin, it's normally falls with the manager, and that's the same with the Premiership. You look at every team that's losing, there's nothing said about the 11 players that are getting paid 200 or 300 grand a week that are losing the games. It's the one guy in the sideline, and I think the sooner we flip that and start concentrating and pushing our players in the right way by supporting them and easing off the manager and giving him a bit of fair play and giving him a bit of time, if we could kind of branch that way rather than getting on the manager and the team are getting off the hook, but we're the ones not delivering out on the pitch. So it takes everyone, but I think there's a great group there. We're very lucky to have this group of players coming through, but the 5 All-Ireland minors, just to get it right, they mean very little when it comes to the senior game, because you've guys now that are 17 coming out. There's an awful long, I was 23 before that day in Crow Park against Armagh. That's 6 years, so there's an awful lot that can go wrong for guys, there's an awful lot to go right, and I nearly getting the 5 of them groups into one group and having a meeting with them some night and kind of saying, listen lads, if you want to go on and play for Kerry, this is what you need to do. This is the life you need to live. Anybody who doesn't want to do it, out the door with you now. Anybody who does, let's go for the journey. And that's what needs to kind of happen with that bunch of players. All the other guys know what it takes, the guys that are in there for the senior the last number of years. But I think these guys coming through because they obviously clearly have the talent, they clearly have the ambition, they're winning school finals, they're winning minor finals with Kerry, so everything is right. But college comes in, the girls come in, the crack comes in, the drinks come in, and guys can go off the wheel. We've seen it with loads of guys before, so we got to get these guys in, and we got to say, look lads, are we going to go and create, or like Dublin are doing what they're doing now, they're going for 5 in a row, it's unbelievable, they've one of the best teams of all time. But Kerry need to answer, and Kerry always answer, and that's the beauty of Kerry, and Kerry will be back, no doubt about it, and hopefully it's sooner rather than later.
Would Kieran Donaghy like to be a manager of a Kerry team if he got experience one day?
I wouldn't rule it out, Tim. I wouldn't rule it out. If I got, there's loads to learn. I've loads to learn. I plan on doing some of that. But it's it's something that you'd have to seriously think about. But at the other side of me, I'd have to be confident that the crowd are really behind the team, and it'd have to be a big thing for me, because I know how the Kerry fans feel towards me, and I'd be slow to risk that with them by taking on a job that I wasn't good at. So I don't know where I am with it yet, but I'd hate to take it on and not do well, and have that, because you're only good as your last game, and if your last game as a player was bad, that's what your last game was, and it'll be the same.
Kieran, I'm good at this sort of thing, pinpointing talent. I reckon you will be a future Kerry manager. Austin Stacks, a club, what does it mean to you?
Well, I suppose it's kind of everything, really. It's where it all starts and it's where it'll all finish. And I walked into the dressing room, they caught me, Tim, and I'm hard to catch. And it wouldn't be like me to be caught now, but I was doing a bit of stuff with Wayne, a bit of tactical stuff with the lads before the training session last day, and we went out on the pitch and we did some of it, and some of it worked and some of it didn't, of course. And we were finished our training session and we were heading for the dressing room, and Wayne called me back and he was saying, geez, we like what you did there, Kieran, and that was good, and we can do more of this. And I was saying, geez, that's great. I was getting loads of pats in the back, this is great. And I walked into the dressing room and there's a big cake, a star with green and gold on one half it and black and amber on the other, and two big flares with smoke machines coming out of them. I don't know, it was flares, they looked like to me. They weren't candles in Tim. I wouldn't have been blowing them off. I might have less hair than I already have if I went to blow them off. But it was the boys, in fairness, kind of gave me a clap or whatever, and it was the first time in a very long time that I was stuck for words, and I didn't know what to say afterwards. But that's the club is the club, and I'm very lucky to play with Kerry and very lucky to represent Austin Stacks.
It's a nice handy draw, is it? The Dingle one in the next round?
There's no handy draw, Tim. If you're looking for handy draws in quarter final, you're in the wrong business. Every game now is going to be a war zone, and the best bunch.
And amazing, and we know that the Dingle, it's very hard to call the Dingle and Austin Stacks game. East Kerry, South Kerry, they're brilliant quarter-finals.
Wonderful games, brilliant games, excellent games, and there'll be big attendances at them. And
I suppose the Dingle boys are delighted that you've a wedding that weekend, have you?
I have the brothers'
Will we get
wedding.
you back?
I don't think I'll come back at all, Tim. I think I'll leave the boys at it. I think no, of course I'll come back. Football does it again. My wife booked a family holiday and we were going for 10 days, and it was all wedding, my brother's wedding. We can't wait for the wedding. It's a huge thing in our house for Conor to be getting married. We couldn't wait for it, and I'll be over there for 3 days. I'll be flying back for 2 days, and I'm trying to fly back over to get the last bit of my family holiday. So thank God I have a very patient wife and a patient family.
Let's presume for a second, Kieran, if Austin Stacks win the county championship, it can happen, it's wide open. Everyone says it's wide open. Would Kieran Donaghy be tempted?
Tim will go in over
on the Kerry jersey?
No, I think I'd leave that to Greg Horan or Ronan Shannon, because the two of them are showing outstanding stuff at club level so far. Greg has been amazing for us this year. I've been so impressed with him. He was in with the panel at the start of the year, and he was involved in the K2, and it's brought him on a pile. And since he's got back in with Wayne's training, I've even seen a difference to him in the last few weeks, and he's just playing. I just think he's got the body shape and he's got the strength, and he's just the most wonderful footballer you could see. So I think he's going to be a big player for Kerry next year. I think he has to get a real crack at it, and I think Ronan has proved over the last 2 years that he's ready for the grade as well. And he was, he kind of put out a few fires above Monaghan for us, and I think he's going to be a good player for Kerry. So I know I'd leave it to the two boys now, and if we win the county championship, I'd be more than happy to see one of them leading Kerry out next year.
Kieran, just before our next part here, I have Eamon Hickson, our producer, is just after into the studio, and a little surprise for you. It's from us here on Terrace Talk. I know our Facebook Live viewers will see it, and what it is, it's you holding the Sam Maguire, and with that, we know you're not gone from the basketball arena. If you can show it there to our camera, Kieran, and I suppose what it says, Star, thanks for the memories, and it comes from all of us here on Terrace Talk. I'll have to say, for me personally, you're been an absolute great friend. I've known you for 18 years, and well, you're the first man that, I suppose, my dream was always to get into a dressing room in Croke Park, be it a reporter or be it a player. You were the first man that took me in, and I'll never forget that day. We did an interview. We got quite emotional during that because we were mentioning Dinny Street, we were mentioning everything, and it meant a lot to me personally. I had you back here, or you were here in studio a year ago. I give you, as by some people, the standards. It was a tough interview, but you came through it with flying colours. You were the most honest player I've ever met. You were a joy, and I'm speaking on behalf of, I have my Kerry supporter hat on now, Kieran. You gave us so much satisfaction. I enjoyed doing the commentaries of later years, because every time you got the ball, there was hair standing on the back of my neck because the star rises. Every supporter in Kerry absolutely loves you. There's a dislike outside the county because you've been so effective. I'm delighted that Kieran Donaghy was in Kerry, and I'd have to say that on behalf of every Kerry supporter. You gave us huge, great memories that we will never lose. And if you go back to the Donegal game, and no matter, I know you were playing with other players on the panel, you won that game for us, Kieran, and you can be very proud. And no matter what you take on in life from here on in, you're going to be an absolute success. And on behalf of Terrace Talk tonight, on behalf of every Kerry supporter, it was a dream to have you in studio, and it was a dream to have watched you over the years.
Thanks very much for those very kind words, Tim. And look, to the Kerry fans and to the people who have messaged me and emailed me and Facebooked me and Twittered me and Instagrammed and everything, the kind words that you have given to me over the last number of days has filled me with a great sense of fulfilment. And you know, it's been a hell of a journey, and you know, one that, you know, I did it my way, as Hillary said to me, that, you know, I did it my way, and thankfully had some great times along the journey, and played with the best of teammates, involved with the best of managers, and you know, thanks for everything, and thanks to the Kerry people most of all for giving me the chance to represent us as a county.
Yeah, you're very welcome. You made our dreams come true, Kieran. We now take a break.